Welcome to the Healers Café, the #1 show for medical practitioners and holistic healers to have heart-to-heart conversations about their day-to-day lives while sharing their expertise for improving your health and wellness. So welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have with me Kimberly Evering, and basically, she is the founder and CEO of Rock and Flow Yoga. She brings years of expertise as a certified you're going to have to correct me in the pronunciation, but vinyasa and yoga sculpt instructor to her events-based yoga business. She immerses herself in a movement and mind fusion through invigorating sequences in harmony with diverse music genres. So, well, first of all, welcome. And I'm quite intrigued by this events-based yoga business. So we're definitely going to talk about that. But let me just ask you first, what got you interested in yoga? How did you get into this field? And how did it all start for you?
Well, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate it. And you nailed vinyasa, by the way. So
Oh,
kudos.
good.
uh, it's kind of funny because, when I was talking to a friend about this a couple of years ago, I hadn't really thought about it. And when I reflected, and I was like, as a little girl, I used to watch PBS a lot. And there was this woman that did yoga, and I had no idea what it was at the time. I would just like watching her and mimicking what she was doing, but I had to be all of like 5 or 7, and had absolutely no idea. And I think I was also like attracted to her very calming presence. Um, and then it kind of went out of my life. I wasn't aware of yoga. And then after college, um, I started to go to some classes just for fun that were, options at studios. And I fell in love with it and I loved it. And I started taking yoga classes so much that they were like, okay, you need to go to teacher training because you're here too much. They're like, that is your next step if you're into it. And I was like, oh, I'm very intrigued. Okay, why not?
Okay.
Um,
And so what is it that drew you to it or that you enjoyed about it?
I think it was because I loved how it was like empowering, like the poses are very bold, and it doesn't matter what your like body type is. You can, find a way into a pose that works for your body. So it's such an inclusive form of fitness, I feel like,
Mm.
more so than some of the others, and that drew me to it. And just like I loved the gracefulness of it and the strength mixed. That's a pretty powerful combination when you mix strength and grace.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, interesting. Because my instinct with yoga, having seen some pretty complicated poses, is like, well, that's not for every body. But what you're saying is that it actually, you feel empowered doing it because there's many ways into these poses. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Sure. I feel like it's such a shame because on social media, you see a lot of like, let's say, advanced poses.
Mm.
And of course, that's people showing off. And to people that don't know better, I don't blame people for getting intimidated and having a certain viewpoint of yoga. A lot of my friends and ITs were like, oh, that's Instagram yoga, you know. But um, by trade, my classes, because they're event based and not studio based, I'm always getting people from all over the world at all different skill set levels and exposure to yoga, from never having done it to having taken it for years. And because of that, I have to find that middle ground. and teach all level yoga when I get the vibe of like, the skill set of who's attending a class. But it never, no matter what, goes to advanced poses like headstands or anything that it should be, for someone that's been doing it for years and years. And I think a misconception is I can't do yoga, I'm not flexible, or I can't get into this pose or that pose. But I have a cycling background and cyclists tend to be very tight. So yoga I had found was a great balance to like helping keep my body more pliable and flexible. And I am not always the most flexible in certain poses, and I'm all right with that. Like I could be practicing for years and years and years, and I might be able to get like deeper in a pose, but I might never be able to get my body to contort
Mm,
a cookie cutter way into a pose. And that's totally all right.
mhm,
I always tell the people that come to my class, morning versus night makes a difference in how loose your body is. Right side versus left side of a body for people makes a difference. Sometimes we do things so much easier with our right side than our left side. Women and, I hate to say it, but like time of month, that makes a difference a lot of times with our balance. There's so many factors that you just gotta like literally go with the flow and just not push your body, but do things to the most comfort point for you.
what is actually event-based yoga?
So, excellent question. Studios, when you teach in a studio, you have a set day and set time. So, if you're going to commit to that, you should be available consistently, like every Thursday at 6 o'clock. Well, as Gal on the Go, I have a very fluid schedule. I'm always doing different things. So, event based yoga is my niche and it's more like authentic to me. So I will teach yoga classes out in the world, at venues all over the place, for all different occasions. So I was one of the first yogis in the Washington metropolitan area that got a permit to teach yoga at the base of the Lincoln Memorial years ago. And that was like amazing. But then I'll also teach yoga on rooftops at sunset or poolside or on a golf course. So I love event based because I really strive to encourage people to live boldly and experience different things. And when you're outside of the studio, like the sky is the limit for the places that you could take yoga. And it's so beautiful.
Mm, that's very interesting. Yeah, so that actually is how you teach it.
Yes.
Okay, so what don't, because that's very innovative. I've seen people teach at events, whether it's breathing or yoga or some sort of thing that breaks up a little bit the event and allows you to go back into your body. So I've seen it, but so what was your path though to get into, yeah, how did first of all, how did you know that that's what you wanted? And then how did you follow up so that it became the thing you can do, basically?
Well, I thought I did want to teach in a studio. Actually, I took teacher training and teacher training extensions because I took it very seriously. So anytime there's a chance to get the education and then more education on what it is, like I take advantage of that. And I recommend that to anybody. If you want to be the best at what you do, always be open-minded to learning and taking it to the next level with what you learn about your hobby or your passion. And I just am not one of those people that likes to be in cubicles or inside, confined necessarily. I don't mind taking those types of classes, but I was like, you know what? For me, I think it's just about like fluidity and where is a cool spot that's just interesting and fun. And I love meeting new people. So with event based yoga, you're, constantly having different clients. You get to share yoga with first timers a lot, which is an incredible honor. And you learn things from the people that you meet. Um, and it just kind of like evolved like that.
Mm,
And I have an alt rock DJ background.
okay.
So music is a huge foundation to my belief in yoga and movement. And I incorporate instrumental versions of alt rock music into my playlist for my classes.
Mm. So kind of different a little bit.
Yeah, and try to make it as immersive as possible. Like, if I'm doing a sunset yoga,
Mm,
I try to be really mindful about picking music that like goes with that vibe and
mm,
reminding people like keep your eyes open and just take advantage of the sky and looking up when you're in certain poses. Because so much in life we're like bam, 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 going, going, going. And we don't pause and absorb like the beautiful things around us. So I like them to get lost in the flow and the music and kind of just,
mhm,
enjoy themselves.
mm. So I mean that's really your thing, clearly.
Yeah.
So have you named this?
The style
Yeah,
or
the style, because it's unique. I mean, I've interviewed several people who do yoga, and we've talked about the different types of yoga, and the advantage of becoming present and all that. But what I'm hearing that you're doing is that you're bringing the external environment really into the picture, and then you're embellishing or focusing on it through music so that you have a full integrative sort of approach to yoga, right? It's like um it's like a yoga seance, like.
oh, I wish I had a name. Honestly, that would be like a dream come true to have, Bikram was started by a male. It would be pretty incredible to have a style of yoga that was female, based. But Rock and Flow, when I chose the name and I had it trademarked, I really put a lot of thought. I'm a very deep about the meanings of words, and that goes back to like I love song lyrics. Like I'm a writer and editor also, and like words are very meaningful to me. And the rock part is kind of obvious, right? That's like, the music and just like the positivity of the word, like rock on. But flow has so many layers to it. It's like flow is chill and organic. Flow is the breath. Flow is the movement. Flow is the music. Flow is the environment. So it's not by accident that I came up with rock and flow because it transcends across the things that I love and incorporate.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually missed that in reading it, but it's rock and flow yoga.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. I was gonna say, yeah, it really requires a name, but I agree, that's a good name. I think it's
Thank you.
yeah, no, it's interesting because you get both aspects of what you're wanting to share, right?
Yeah. And then, like, ironically, the way life works, and I think this happens when you do put a lot of thought into something mindfully. This spring and summer, I'm launching stand up paddleboarding yoga as a new service that I'm really excited about because I do competitive stand up paddleboarding, but from a recreational standpoint, not like a medals competitive standpoint. And again, like flow of water. I was like, oh my gosh, how wild is that? That, again, an element comes into play that matches.
And don't rock the boat.
Yes.
You don't want to fall.
Don't rock that board.
Exactly. Oh, so what is I notice you have Gal on the Go. What is that about? Is that a separate thing you're doing or creating, or how does that fit into your big picture?
What would your life be like if you were pain free? If you were one of the millions who suffer from chronic pain, the thought of just one day without it may seem impossible. This is often because conventional medicine tends to fall short in the treatment of pain, opting to prescribe pills or recommend surgery rather than getting to the root cause of the problem. But if you are suffering with emotional or physical pain, there is hope. Join the founder and CEO of Bowen College, Manon Bolliger, live online for your body-mind reboot. Learn how to listen to your symptoms and get to the root cause of your pain. Plus, be trained in basic Bowen therapy moves so that you can reboot your body for optimal health. You don't have to live in pain. You can heal. Stop the pain pill cycle by visiting www.yourbodymindreboot.com to learn more and to register.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. So when I was in grad school, one of my final projects was to come up with, a website and base it around like something that we were passionate about. And I had started a blog that was all about my adventures. And it was like a gamut of things like zip lining. I toured with a band. I did the bobsled Olympic experience in Park City, Utah. Like I would do all these things. And my point of sharing them was to be like, okay, if I could do them, hopefully it'll encourage you to get out there and live boldly. And it kind of caught on again. I love when things do this like organically. And I got to be known as Gal on the Go. And everyone be like, hey, what's up? There's Gal on the Go. Oh my gosh. And then a friend of mine was like, okay, why don't you take that and elevate it into a podcast? And then the blog became a podcast called Gal on the Go Unplugged. That's all about empowering women. And that is the story.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So when you give like it's I guess there are beginners, like you say, in your classes and that. What are like tips to get people understanding? I mean, a lot of people know what yoga is, and there's so many different types of yoga that they all kind of are different. What would you say are the things that you feel important to convey about yoga, or specifically the yoga that you do?
Um, I, I always try to say, put myself in their position, right? Like, there's actually a lot of pressure when you have someone that shows up for a yoga class and it's their first one. Because if you really think about it, you're like, okay, their experience with me is going to determine if they hate yoga or like it and continue it or not. And I want someone to continue it based on a positive experience, like in a genuine, like overall experience of it, not because of something else. Like, if they decide it's not for them because of something physical, that's one thing, but I don't want them to not like it for other reasons. So I try to be, very mindful of that and say, when you come into the class, don't worry about if you're flexible or not. Don't worry about what someone next to you is doing. Don't worry about picking it up fast or not. Just enjoy it. Like, I'll show them the poses. I'll say the names of the poses. I try to stay away from Sanskrit words because I have learned that people are very intimidated and turned off. It's nice to know them from a knowledge standpoint as you get into yoga more and more, but it's actually a turnoff in the beginning for yogis because you're alienate them. They don't know what the terms mean. They don't know what pose they're supposed to get into if you use, like what you could say is the proper terminology instead of the like everyday terminology. So I just try to take those things in consideration and present them in a positive way, and then also make them feel like the environment they're in is a safe space. I think that's really important. No one's going to experiment and try to do things if they don't feel they're in a safe place or they feel judged.
Mhm.
So to me, those are very important factors.
Well, it's also good to bring those types of things up, right? Because it's often in people's minds, but they don't want to discuss it, right? And then, when you discuss it and you say, okay, everyone's got their, don't look at anyone else, just do what you've got to do. It gives permission, really, so it's really, yeah, it's important.
And
Um,
of course, I want them to have fun, but I want them to have fun, parallel to everything else.
what's like the most maybe important thing you've ever or you've discovered about yoga?
Um, that there really is energy. Like I kind of used to think that energy was not so impactful and that it was kind of just this thing, but it wasn't concrete. But what I've learned from all the different crowds and all the different types of people that show up is that energy is real. Energy, you're vibing off of people, and that you are presenting to people is so intense and such a tangible thing, more than I ever thought. That shocked me. And also the fact that the people that take class are just as calming for me. Like there's such amazing people I've been fortunate to have show up that they bring a calmness into my life that I hope I'm providing to them. And I never expected that.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. And what have you found to be the most like, are there people that you just don't recommend yoga to?
Not really. I truly feel like anyone could do yoga. And when I teach class, I say option to do this, option to do that. So with each pose, unless the pose is really only able to be done one way, because of that is the case with some poses, I try to give like 2 to 3 options for a pose, because you could not, again, be able to do it because you're not as good on the right versus left side of body, or you just can't get into that exact pose. There's so many of those reasons, so I try to be very conscious of that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So I don't know if it's possible. I'll just spontaneously put it out there, since you seem to be quite spontaneous. What could you show us on a video like this, and also audio, to get people to feel the energy in their body? And this could be like they may be in a job where they're sitting. It could be standing, whatever you feel. But is there something you can, like a little process that you could put us through?
Sure, absolutely. So, sitting at your desk, because a lot of people, of course, right, when you're sitting at your desk, by the end of the day, you feel like, oh, I'm all like hunched over and I'm so stressed. And you don't even realize that you're like that until someone's like, breathe,
Right.
breathe, just breathe. So, what I would say, if you feel like you're getting overwhelmed or you just need to take a pause, which I highly encourage people to take a pause, multiple pauses throughout their day. What I feel to be very comforting is place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly,
Hmm.
and close your eyes for just a moment. And with your mouth closed, you take a nice deep inhale through your nose, pause at the top, and release that breath for a count of 3. And if you take another inhale through your nose, exhale, release. Nice deep inhale. And let go of anything that's weighing you down.
Mm-hmm. And what is the connection, the hand on the heart and the belly? What's at play there?
Well, it's just kind of tuning into yourself, right? Your stomach is the core, right? It's the center of your entire body. Everything shoots
Right.
up and down from your stomach and your core. And your heart, of course, that's your breath, your heart beating. So when you touch them, there's a peacefulness in yourself. And then when you add that nice deep inhale, and the key is releasing it in that count of 3. And it's amazing. And I'm a very person. I always tease about I am an unusual yogi in that way. But for me, even that is the most calming thing. And literally it takes all of 9 seconds total, maybe 12 at most. And it makes such a huge difference in the moment. And it's so easy to do at a desk, in a car. You're just pulled over in a parking lot, you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe someone cut you off, maybe you just got through a lot of traffic and made it to work. It's just truly amazing how that small brief gesture of taking a moment for yourself calms you down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's true. We often miss the opportunity, right? We just feel like, oh, that's fine. We'll just keep going, Whereas it takes nothing, and you really change the your energy and your ability to deal with other stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like an instantaneous reset, and it'll last you, of course, right? As long as your environment will allow it to last, depending on what you're exposed to, let's be real. But you know what? Then when you have a moment, you just come back to it again, it's easy enough, like I said, to do any time of day, any place.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, our time is actually up. Is there any last thing you want to say, or have we covered it and leave it at the exercise? I'll leave it up to you.
I just hope that if you get anything from this interview, if you get one nugget, I am very appreciative of that. And if you're ever intimidated by taking yoga, if it seems like, something that wouldn't be for you, I would say be open-minded, take a community class, give it a try, go to an event-based yoga class, and just see. It might surprise you how much you do enjoy it.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks very much for sharing your experience and about yoga.
Thank you. Rock on.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café. If you haven't already done so, please like, comment, and subscribe with notifications on, as I post a new podcast every Wednesday with tons of useful information and tips for natural healing that you won't want to miss.